Young Anthony Soprano is growing up in one of the most tumultuous eras in Newark, New Jersey history, becoming a man just as rival gangsters start to rise up and challenge the all-powerful DeMeo crime family. Caught up in the changing times is the uncle he idolizes, Dickie Mazziano, who influences over his nephew, will help shape the impressionable teenager into the all-powerful mob boss, Tony Soprano. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Burns Reviews, and today I am very excited to talk to you about the Many Saints of Newark, the prequel to, of course, the HBO hit series The Sopranos, in which Michael Gandolfini, real-life son of James Gandolfini, plays the titular role of Tony Soprano in a era piece of, I think it's 1968 or 69, during the race riots in Newark, obviously. And this cast, man, is top-notch. Not only do you have Michael Gandolfini playing the iconic Tony Soprano, and I gotta admit, when I first went to this movie, I did have some hesitations because I'm the kind of guy who doesn't like to watch a lot of trailers, but the trailers that I did see for this movie, it made me worry initially. And to those of you who have seen the marketing for this movie, I feel like it's being shortchanged, because when I see something like this, I typically think, oh no, this is going to be a cash grab. This is going to be, you know, one Easter egg after another. It's going to be like that scene in Han Solo where it's like, oh, what's your name? Oh, you're alone? Oh, I'm going to name you Solo. I'm like, this is going to be really bad. I was really nervous about this because whenever you make a prequel that comes, you know, 10 plus years later with different actors and the whole bit, it just doesn't seem to really gel. And also making a movie that was based on TV show, again, you really don't know what you're gonna get. Most times than not, it's pretty bad. This, however, is the exception that disproves the rule. Michael Gandolfini, holy shit, man. I was shocked how subdued and nuanced his performance really was. I had never seen him in anything before. Actually, apparently I saw him in Cherry and in Ocean's 8. I went back and looked at it again. I'm like, oh yeah, that is him. But wow. And this is definitely going to be a movie that makes a lot of actors. Let's go right into the positives. As you can see, I'm already really excited about this movie. It's going to be a very high score in case you didn't put that together. So first and foremost, we got to talk about the script, the story. Yeah, like I said, I thought it was going to be a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of throwbacks, and they are in there, but as somebody who hasn't seen the show in probably 15 years, you know, I'm not very crisp on all the episodes. I haven't seen them in a bit. But I could say that this movie was fantastic. The writing was great. The pacing was fantastic. I really like that they focused mainly on Dickie, Tony's uncle, instead of Tony, because they so easily could have made some crappy film where it was like, oh, let me tell you the first time he went to Bada Bing, or let me tell you the first time that, you know, he got the nickname Tony, whatever, first time he said gabagool, like, whatever. Like, they could have done all those things and just done one after another, and maybe they did, but the important thing is that this movie stands on its own 2 feet, and I like that a lot. In fact, I kind of wish they make more of these movies, because it takes place in 1967, and Tony Soprano is there, but he's not the main story. And, you know, typically I could see some people, like, listening to me right now going, well, that sucks. No, it's not. It's great. I think we should have, like, 4 more movies just like this, going through the decades from, like, the 60s all the way up to the 90s, where he's just a side character. And maybe he becomes a bigger character in each movie. But the character of him being, like, the second fiddle to Dickie, I think that was brilliant. And I hope they do more with that. I mean, I don't know if they are going to do that because, you know, I guess time will tell. But this was great. It was its own individual crime story, and it was fantastic. I was doing a ranking. What are my favorite mobster mafia movies? And the only movie that rivals the Many Saints of Newark to me is Goodfellas. Everything else, I couldn't put it above this movie. This movie is that damn good. So Dickie is basically just in the middle of a power struggle. He's going against this guy Harold, who used to be an associate of his. He's dealing with the race riots at the time in Newark. There's a lot of spinning plates in his life. He's married. He's got a mistress. He's got a disapproving father, Ray Liotta. He's got an uncle in prison who's also played by Ray Liotta. Yeah, there's a lot of spinning plates, and he's just trying to keep it all together. It's a classic gangster story, and it really works. As far as the cast, like I said, top notch. Alessandro Nivola as Dickie Moltisanti, Michael Gandolfini, Tony Soprano, his nephew, who really just wants his uncle to, like, value him and appreciate him, because obviously his parents are just not really there. If you've ever seen the TV show, his parents are kind of, not great. Jon Bernthal plays his dad, Johnny Boy Soprano, and his mom is played by Vera Farmiga. She's got a fake nose on, and they're both crazy. There's a great scene in this movie where a character pulls out a gun and shoots a hole through the giant haircut of the woman sitting next to him, and you think, oh my god, he just blew her away. But there's just a hole through her beehive of her haircut, and it's the funniest scene in the entire movie. This movie has humor, it has action, it has crime. It's just great. And it's not really one of those movies that overstays its welcome. It's a little over 2 hours long, and I really enjoyed it. There's very little I can say about this movie that I didn't like. As far as, like, the cinematography, it was directed by Alan, let me pull up his right name real quick, because I don't know this guy. Alan Taylor was the director, and he did Game of Thrones, and he did some of the episodes of The Sopranos, but if you look at his IMDb page, you're like, oh, I'm shocked anybody let him near any franchise with these two dumpster fires, but to each their own. He did not drop the ball. He did a fantastic job. I thought that Michela De Rossi, who I thought was like, dollar store Penelope Cruz, did a fantastic job. And as the movie went on, I'm like, wow, she's even as good, if not better, than Penelope Cruz in all these scenes. Corey Stoll plays Uncle Jr., who is a complete match. And then Leslie Odom Jr. is the antagonist in so many ways. He plays Harold. And, he's not that different from Dickie in a lot of ways. They used to work together, and then Harold felt like, you know what, I'm not respected, I'm going to go out on my own. And he starts to undercut Dickie a little bit, and Dickie starts to get a whiff of this, and he's like, well, what am I going to do? And the characters, ironically, are not that different from one another. You feel kind of like tragic about the whole thing, because you get the feeling like they're kind of friends, or on a certain level, they respect each other in the sense that they both want the same thing. They're both hard workers. They have high aspirations. They're kind of the same guy with the same goals, but they're on opposite sides of the fence, and they have to keep clashing. There's even scenes where they're like, I have to go and find this guy and kill him before he kills me. And the whole movie, you're just waiting for this whole face-off to happen. Face-off. And, it's really tense, and then the movie does there's a couple twists along the way, and you're like, whoa, I did not see that coming at all. The movie never felt formulaic to me. I really enjoyed it. If you can go out there and check it out, it's going to be on HBO Max on October 1st, and it's also going to be in theaters the same day. I would highly recommend checking it out in theaters, because it does have like a certain palette to it. It's like a splash of colors that I thought was really, really cool. I would definitely check it out. Going into negatives really quick, and there's very little I can say that I don't like about this movie. I really enjoyed it. We don't get cinema anymore. We get movies. This is cinema. The only negative I can give this movie is the ending. And this is almost a nitpick. The problem with the ending, it's a little rushed. It's a little, like, the conflicts resolve themselves in so many ways. And the second they do, the epilogue is just like boom, 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 boom. And we're done. And considering this is like a prequel to the TV show, they could have spent an extra 5 minutes with Tony Soprano. Kind of just a little more of an epilogue. This was like, hey, we gotta finish this movie in under 3 minutes, let's go. I would have loved if there's like a deleted scene on like the Blu-ray, if there's a little bit more, because it just felt like there were maybe cutting it for time. I don't know. I don't know. This is why I say, like, I would love to see a sequel to this movie. Maybe set place in the 70s, 80s, or even the 90s, because The Sopranos didn't come on the air until, like, 1999. So you can easily make sequels to these movies if you wanted to. But that's the only thing I could say that detracts from it, is that the ending felt like a little bit like, I don't know, they scribbled it out as quickly as they could. And not that the scene is bad, it just feels like it was edited down shorter than it was probably filmed as. I don't know, it's a little strange, because the whole movie has like a certain pace to it, and it's a good pace. You know, it's a methodical one, and it kind of keeps you going, but then that last 5 minutes, you're like, come on, don't do it this way, just give us more. So with that said, guys, my final verdict for the Many Saints of Newark is going to be a 9 out of 10. I highly recommend it. I had so much fun with this movie. I got to meet Alessandro and Michael Gandolfini, and they were just like the classiest guys you could ever hope to meet. They had a Q&A. It was like me and like 7 other journalists, and we just went out there and we asked them some questions, and it was fantastic, guys. And that's not basing anything as far as my rating. The movie is fantastic, like I said. The ending's a little bit unpolished, but like I said, the performances were great. The story was original, and the acting was top notch. I mean, you got so many great actors in this, like, surrounding the main characters. You know, like I said, Dickie Moltisanti, who is the father of Christopher, is played by Alessandro, and he really nails it. But it does definitely help seeing that you have Ray Liotta, Jon Bernthal, Vera Farmiga, Corey Stoll, all these great actors. Of course, Michael Gandolfini, who could have been an awful actor. You know, typically when you see an actor who is a kid, a descendant of a more famous actor, you're like, I don't know, we'll see. And then you watch it and you're like, oh, it wasn't very good. But he nailed it. There's a scene where he's walking out of the phone booth, and somebody's like trolling him. He's like, "What'd you say to me?" And he's got those eyes, man. And I saw Tony Soprano, and it was amazing. So with that said, guys, like, even if you're not a big fan of The Sopranos, I think you will enjoy this for the crime story that it is. Another thing that I noted is that it's not obnoxious. Sometimes I watch reruns of The Sopranos, and Paulie comes out, and I hate Paulie, and he's obnoxious, and half the time I just feel bad for Tony for having to deal with Paulie or other obnoxious characters. I didn't get that vibe at all. Ray Liotta's character, he actually plays 2 characters, but one of the characters he plays in the very beginning, he's a little obnoxious, but overall, it's very quick and over, and it wasn't like, oh my god, they're not chewing the scenery with its overacting. It's very subdued in so many ways, and it's a lot of fun. And that's going to be it. I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to give it an A. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Go check it out October 1st. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I have been John. We just hit 5,000 subs. Thank you so much. We got more videos down here. And until next time, I have been John here on Burns Reviews. You just got burned, and we will see you next time.